Hi guys, welcome. We joked here before we started that perhaps we should just sit quiet today for 1 hour and just show the SOL chart. What do you think? How are you doing, guys? Should we start with you, James?
Good. It's been an interesting last month, interesting year to date, interesting last 18 months. It's people talk about life-changing times, but like this bull run has been very special. And what blows me away, what I can't wrap my head around is it's still so early. And that's what's crazy, whether you call it left-handed cycle or whatever, everything is popping so much faster than ever before, triggered, of course, by the ETFs.
Ivan, how are you? What's your reflection with the craziness in the market?
Yeah, great to be here again, guys. Yeah, it's crazy. But today, the Bitcoin is not front running the DCA. So there is a bit of a disturbance in the normal pump. But all in all, Solana, what a beast. It's crazy. Both when it comes to DEX volume, like everything, really challenging this whole L2 paradigm. Like you, James, have been speaking for quite some time here as well. And yeah, the momentum overall in the market is still extremely bullish. And that's what we will be speaking about today, including also some potential cheap discount on Tesla, which I'm personally also very curious about because it's a fantastic discount and would be awesome to discuss with you guys. And yeah, Solana, what a beast. It's crazy. It's $50 left until all-time high or so. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. It's such a conclusion. I am thinking especially for you, James. There was so much, criticism and hate if you go back like a little over a year ago, and we were joking that Solana support team manager and so on. And you took so much criticism, but you held your ground. It's like monolithic, it's simple. High transaction speed, short time to finality, low cost, and so on. And here we are. And now the whole world is catching on. What are you thinking here, James? What's your reflections?
I think the big lesson for the audience is make data-driven decisions. Don't listen to anybody. Just look at the data and have enough experience to know the best, cheapest, fastest solution will always win in any space. And the other key angle that I always say is the winner takes most. You can't have 40 L2s winning or 35, 50 layer ones. And it's just mathematically impossible for that to happen.
And right now, Solana has flipped BNB in being the basically third biggest cryptocurrency if we exclude the stable coins. And I mean, that's a huge thing. Binance BNB was huge in the previous cycle. It was kind of the biggest company in the space. And now it's been flipped. What are you guys thinking about that? Ivan, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, last cycle BNB was the cheap chain where all the memes were trading. Now it's Solana. I mean, it's insane also to see that it is starting to get into the mainstream. I don't know if you guys saw, but David Sachs and Jason Calacanis, they have their own meme. And even Elon commented that he's gonna trade Jason Calacanis coin. And then also they're gonna, I don't know if they're gonna do it, but I heard that they're buying the Sphere, or they're buying the advertisement on the Sphere with Hat, which is the meme coin on Solana. And yeah, I mean, it seems that currently it is the path to mainstream via Solana, and also potentially with Base, because it's connected to Coinbase. And I know we have it on the agenda later on. But I mean, all in all, we do have nice entries now for mainstream with cheap fee. Like, fees is not the argument anymore. It's not a problem, and that's so nice, because last cycle we as an industry were still not at the stage where the fee is not an issue, which it is not right now.
Yeah. And it's interesting, we talked about it many times, that cost does matter. And so many people, I think, I don't know, maybe originating from maybe the Bitcoin Maxi camp, saying that but fees don't matter because it's only the big players that move the price anyway. And for them, it doesn't matter if it costs $50, $100, and so on. But here we have the evidence, right? It actually does matter, because usage drives interest, and interest drives price, and all those things. It's it's wrong that it doesn't matter. We saw it in the previous cycle, so I think that's maybe we are less surprised, but here we are. And then we have actually the Sol versus ETH, which is an all-time high today. And we had this very big cycle during, big uptrend in Sol versus ETH already during the previous cycle. And now we're seeing it again. What do you guys think? Are we seeing like a shift in, we're seeing the beginning of a shift in the number one smart contract platform, which today still remains ETH in terms of market cap and TVL and so on. It is still ETH. It's bigger by some margin. But what do you think? Will this trend continue? Or should we start with you, James?
Yeah, I do have a slide, 2 slides just to show to back this up. My thesis has always been there was a time when Solana was trading at less than 2% of ETH's market cap. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense when they do pretty much as much stuff. So this is the record activity on the chain, as you can see, which is mind-blowing. And this shows you in relative terms, daily transactions per chain. You have Base in there, you have Arbitrum in there, you've got Ethereum, you've got Optimism, you've got Starknet and ZK Sync. And you can see there's a big difference. And I always refer to what I refer to as the black hole that sucks everything in. People will gravitate very quickly in crypto to the best, cheapest, fastest solution. And you're seeing that right now. And there's one more chart, I think, maybe. Hold on a second. I think I maybe forgot to post it, but it's a list of all the layer 2s. I did forget to post it, so you can stop sharing. But I thought I had it. I'll dig it up. But literally, when you look at... Oh, I do have it, actually. It's at the very end. Bear with me. This is just a crazy map to look at. I wish I could. These are all the ETH layer 2s, and it's not even the comprehensive list. And when you aggregate all of the market cap of all of these layer 2s who are trying to capture value from Ethereum, again, when you go back to first principles, as Elon Musk would always say, you can't wrap your head around it. How can 50 layer 2s extract value, capture value from Ethereum when Ethereum has to capture a lot of value as well? And it's just too complicated. Go back to Occam's razor, same thing. And this has been my thesis for years. Monolithic versus modular. Monolithic wins. And now we're seeing it play out at last. Now, the other thing that I do want to mention, if you look at the performance of some of these, you look at the biggest one, which is Polygon. It hasn't performed at all, this bull run. It's just dead. And that vexes people. And that's why I don't own any L2s. Last time I owned an L2, I think I bought Matic at 60 and sold it $1, 60 cents, sold it $1 like last year early. That was it. That's the last time I dabbled with a layer 2. And I just don't believe in them at all. It's too complicated.
Should we cover that also? Because you had some very interesting reflections, Ivan, on your stream this morning. And I just share this, that the TVL on the Ethereum layer 2, they are spread out over a number of different layer 2s, while there is still a lot of TVL in the Ethereum layer 1. Here is like 52 billion in layer 1, Arbitrum 3 billion, Blast is layer 2, right? 1 billion, Optimism 1 billion, Base, which is then Coinbase layer 1, 700 million, and it's kind of scattered. So on Solana there is only one, while it's still only 4 billion, which is a lot smaller than Ethereum. That's why it's important to try to understand, is this just the beginning still, or is it kind of the end of this cycle, or what's going to happen with the layer 2s, or is it layer 1, but then the cost seems a real problem for Ethereum? So I think everyone's very interested to hear your reflections, Ivan, on this.
Yeah, I mean, the main reflection I had this morning is that the L2 space is really feeling the Solana growth, like the whole ETH space. And I mean, what I don't like with ETH L2 space is that there is a lot of cope. I mean, instead of saying that, man, Solana is killing it, there's a lot of cope. So I basically said, listen, to compete, you have to make it simple. I mean, kind of what James has been explaining. So instead of having like 1 million of them, is it base? Is it Arbitrum? Like, which one is the one? And can we just push that to the maximum? And it is interesting that Solana on the base layer doesn't have that much TVL, but it's a question of time. I mean, if this continues, then Solana is going to 10x in TVL also easily. The thing is, ETH has like over soon a decade of projects building on top, not really a decade, but the TVL comes from all the treasuries, everyone who raised money in 2017 and to do a project, and then, all cryptos did 100x. All their money is still in this DeFi in ETH. So if the trend continues, then obviously Solana is going to reach the same. So the question is, what's next for the L2 space? And is it that Coinbase gives all their users an address and that's the L2 that wins? But it is right now a different reality than, let's say, 6 months ago, where now Solana is really challenging it, and it's clear that like ETH and L2s cannot afford to spend another years researching this cross-chain fragmentation, which obviously is always coming. It's soon there. And I saw an interesting thread also. I think it was Eric Wall or someone that compared ETH L2s to Lightning. And I mean, there is a bit of that as well, because Lightning on Bitcoin, it's always coming. It's always going to fix, always almost there. So it's important, I think, for L2 space as a whole not to become like the new Lightning, that it's crippled and, it's almost there, because there's no time now. Like the market is really showing that Solana is growing. People want to degen fast or everything on L1, easy onboarding. So yeah, my main reflection was like, now looking at all of this, it would be good for L2s to go with one. And Solana right now, if you compare Solana to all other L2s, it is the same in TVL very soon. If you just compare to L2s, it's not that big of a gap. It's like a few billion or something. And if it really continues to be the best place in decentralized finance, it will attract more and more from ETH, because if there is just more ways to earn yield or more ways to participate in financial markets on Solana, because it's a bigger chain and just more stuff there, it's just a question of time before people start bridging. Because I have my treasure on ETH, but on Solana I can do more things, more yield, and so on and so forth. So anyway, I mean, in a way, in the last maybe 2 months especially, it is a different market, and now the number is showing it. That was the main reflection this morning.
Yeah, we come back to the base part. And guys, if you're not already, which you obviously are, but otherwise, make sure to subscribe both to James Invest Answers and Ivan on Tech. Of course, links in the description. A lot of YouTubers must be watching James. Suddenly it's all news everywhere. Yeah, for sure, that's definitely the case. And it's probably
and
also
I mean, it
the
is.
price
I mean,
action,
we've been praising James a lot, but I don't think anyone expected Sol to be this big, maybe except for James. Like it's really insane how you've been committed, and so massive shout out.
Well, remember as well that Solana's still only trading at 15% of the market cap of ETH, and it does more than all of ETH and all the layer 2s combined.
We're still early.
That's a simple ratio right there. It's not over. People think, oh, that's the end, it's pumped, and now to move something else. No.
Yeah, that's the big question here. And one thing, I also thought a lot about this layer 2, because one thing I never liked about layer 2, it always seemed a little too complicated. I know from the telecom that the things that seem like it's not such a big deal, you just go into settings and you enter some settings or something like that. No, people are not going to do it. That kills the entire business case. That's worth like trillions of dollars if you can avoid people have to type something in settings, even if it just takes 15 seconds when you know what to do. But it kind of feels like a hurdle to overcome. And I think that this, like bridging from, go from layer 1 assets into layer 2, and which one is it, Arbitrum or Optimism, or which one is it, which website should I go, where should I click, what should I do, I'm worried to lose the funds, all that stuff. It always felt like one hurdle too many. Yeah, and I think one reason that BNB in the previous cycle and Binance Smart Chain got so much traction, of course, it was the cost and it was cheap and fast to use, but it was also the convenience. Binance as an exchange was huge, and you could just go in there and select withdraw, and you just selected Binance Smart Chain and it comes out. You didn't need to do anything. You didn't need to bridge. You didn't need to understand anything. You just withdraw from the exchange, boom, it's in your wallet. You can trade meme coins. You can send money back. That's it. There's nothing else to do. And I felt that this was always a problem with Ethereum layer 2 solutions. It felt a little bit too complicated. Of course, you can withdraw from some exchanges and so on, but it's kind of seemed a little bit messy. And even you touched on that. Do you think that Base will kind of become this? Maybe you can introduce a little what it is. And
Yeah, I mean, Base is the L2 by Coinbase, and on Twitter, the dev that is like the main dev for Base at Coinbase, he confirmed that all of the users that use Coinbase and all institutional users under the hood, they already have Base addresses. They have all the infra to instantly onboard all their users into Base, and it's already in place. So it's a question of time before the dApps and DEXs start being shown within Coinbase. And that would obviously be quite big, because it would be the only chain that really has the support of an exchange, well, outside of BNB. So that's something that we probably will see later this year. And Coinbase has, 500 million or so KYC users. And the question is also where they take it. I mean, will it be a competitor to Solana, or will it be like more KYC'd experience, where if you are a builder and you really want to ensure that all your users are KYC'd, maybe Coinbase will provide that. So it's going to be a different niche. So yeah, that's something to keep an eye on from this kind of the next BNB connected to a massive exchange, potentially KYC chain that is Base.
And then if I can give one more argument for why this might still fail. I mean, I've always been a big fan of Ethereum. I feel that they pioneered the whole space, the whole smart contract space. There's a lot of companies, people plow down investment there. And, I'm a fan of innovation. I think it's fun. But there are also very strong arguments for that nothing of that will ever work out. It will be like a simple solution, like Ethereum Layer 1 was when fees were not so high, like Binance Smart Chain was, just one chain, and like Solana is. And that is something that Vitalik brought up, and I've thought a lot about it. Now it's a couple of months ago, but I've thought a lot about it, and that is this layer 2 protocol risk. So it means like, what if there's a bug? Because these are complicated stuff. So say that the Base protocol, lead protocol developer of Base, he has a bad day, he hasn't drank his coffee, and he introduces a bug, he ships it, and then boom, money is gone from, there's a bug, something exploitable, $3 billion is gone from Base users. Okay, what happens then? It's a catastrophic bug. Say it's even more, $20 billion, something. What happens then? He cannot roll it back. So he goes then to Vitalik and says, hey, Vitalik, can you roll back the Ethereum? Because I accidentally had a bug here and, billions of dollars. So can you roll back Ethereum so we can fix it? And then Vitalik and the other guy says that, actually, I don't think so. I don't think we want to roll it back. It feels like it should be Coinbase paying for this or something like that. And in the end, it never gets fixed. While if there is a catastrophic bug on Bitcoin layer 1 or Ethereum layer 1 or Solana layer 1 to the point that it completely broke, transactions went haywire for 1 hour, they probably will roll it back and fix it. It's like it's an unfortunate, but they will probably fix it. While it probably won't happen on layer 2. I hope I'm summarizing like Vitalik's
Yeah, I
point.
mean, basically on ETH, for example, a good example is Lido ETH staking. Like everyone uses it for staking. It's I don't know how many billions, but it's like 60 billion or more. It's massive. That, man, if something happens to Lido, everyone's staked ETH is wrecked. Maybe there is a chance that they're gonna do something because everyone is using it. So the argument is, I guess you mean the CTO the same on Solana, that if something happens with like the major Solana protocols, or that they may take it back because it's the main chain. So if something like really bad happens, but if it is L2, then of course it's less of a chance that happens. And yeah, that makes sense. And also on L2, there is another risk, which also there's no time to fix it. Like it needs to be fixed faster. And that's how a lot of L2s are functioning from the sequencer perspective. And that's that there is multi-sigs and there is like upgradability and so on and so forth in how L2s are connected to the mainnet, to ETH mainnet. And now that Solana is a real alternative for trading, they need to hurry up fixing that, because yes, it's cheap, but it's still centralization in the way that L2 is connected to L1, meaning that potentially, if enough like multisigs come together, they could rug the L2s. And I like what I follow the founder of Solana, Anatoly, on Twitter. He's lately been speaking a lot about this, that in Solana, they can stop the chain collectively when there is some problem, but they can never like change state. But in L2s, they could change state, basically changing the who owns what. And that's, they really have to fix that, especially now that basically Solana has made it so that everything needs to happen fast on this ETH L2s. This multisig has to go. The fragmentation either needs to be fixed, or we use one L2 that is the L2. So definitely a different world with a real competitor that is really eating the lunch.
Yeah. In fact, would you be able to talk, Ivan, about some of the fundamental technical flaws from a developer perspective? Things like off-chain proofs, things like IOU finality issues, things like siloed liquidity, things like the bridging risk. Because I think these are things that people don't understand, so they ignore, but they are critical. And even Vitalik pointed them out recently.
Is a big risk. We recently had, for example, Socket bridge getting hacked. Now, regarding the bridge, most people that use Coinbase and go to Base won't have to use the bridge. That's why there is a path for Base to become big without bridging, just like Binance became big without BNB chain, just via Binance. But yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind if you guys are bridging, to ensure that you don't keep the IOU tokens, because different bridges work in different ways. But one type of bridge is that you lock up assets on main chain, you bridge, and you get like representation in the of the original asset on the new chain, which is kind of like IOU. If you have something like that, then it's best to trade as soon as possible to the native asset of the other chain. And then another thing is, like you mentioned, James, data availability and how that is stored.
Yep.
And recently, ETH has changed that to be outside of the main blockchain to a separate blob storage, which is super cheap. It's 90% cheaper, but also that blob storage disappears after a few weeks, and which potentially could lead to risk as well in the future, because you cannot verify everything from scratch if you want to resync the chain. So yeah, definitely a lot of things to keep in mind in terms of the L2s. And the most important thing is that time is ticking. Like all of these problems, they were here already in the past, but now the time is really ticking as the market is competitive right now.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I think long term, there's a question here, Red Panda, is there for long term, there's no, I think, long term plan for Ethereum layer 1 to kind of replace layer 2s. It will always be like the layer 1 will be concurrent with the layer 2s. They will function simultaneously. I don't think there's any roadmap that scales enough that they can be removed, right?
No, you can't change the wings of a plane when it's in the air, and that's the problem. Very simple.
So it's
analogy.
a fantastic and exciting time, and who knows, perhaps it's still only the beginning. If this is a bigger change of change of captain for the big ship, or change of admiral for the fleet rather. So we will have to see. For
but
sure,
a good question is, in case Sol flips ETH, which is not impossible. I mean, it needs to do like a 4x. It needs to run like 4 times. How much does it need to run faster? It's at 89, and ETH
needs to do an 8x.
It needs to run 4 times as fast, this bull market. But if it flips, then people will understand, oh, what the hell? You can flip the main smart contract chain, and then the race for the new Solana is going to start. Like, no one today is trying to outcompete Bitcoin. It is like the king. No one is trying to create a coin and say it's new Bitcoin. It sounds ridiculous. And up until maybe 4 months ago, the same sounded with all of these like alternative layer 1s like Solana. But man, now it is not that. For the market is showing in the numbers that it is an opportunity. It is a possibility at least. And when that happens, if it flips, then it's going to be interesting to see because then you can have many Solana flippers.
Exactly. So it's always felt like Bitcoin cannot be flipped and Ethereum cannot be flipped. But then below that number, the bronze The bronze position has rotated quite a lot and quite frequently, but the gold and silver position hasn't moved. But what if, because that's the interesting question, if it actually happens, if Solana, it's 4.7 times. So Solana has to grow 4.7 times more than ETH. But if it does that, it's not going to stop at that, almost guaranteed. Then it's going to, flip it probably. And then maybe it's like 50 times or something like that. So it's very interesting. And if that can happen, imagine the number of projects that will go and try to challenge Solana now, if it turns out it can actually be done. So yeah, sorry, James, you wanted to.
Yeah, I had a model I put together back in October 2023. I get all my years confused. And that was basically to estimate the bull market price target for Solana if it hit 3% dominance and the crypto market cap hit $5 trillion. It's the simplest, most basic back of the napkin math model you could ever build. So I did that back in October, and I think the target was 363. But now Bernstein came out and says the crypto market cap will hit 7.5 trillion, which is a 3x from here, this bull run by 2025. Did you guys hear that? Because I think that's important. And the problem is as well, over the weekend, not only did Solana smash 3% dominance, but it's at 3.6%, 3.58%, or whatever it is right now. That's kind of crazy. So if you put those two together, you get a very high price target, which I actually have in a slide here that I put together last night, which I think is kind of mind-blowing in terms of upside. Now, this assumes as well that nothing really changes because the dominance is already almost at 4%. But the question is, and that takes Solana to $600, and it's bonkers considering 16 months ago, we're buying it at $8. How can something go from 8 to 600 in this day and age? It melts my mind. But what do you guys think of that? Do you think that's craziness?
I mean, momentum is.
Looking at the market cap first, that's the easiest part maybe to answer. So 7 trillion is here. Yeah. Is the cursor visible, right? Yeah, here. That doesn't look like much, right? If you look at this at a few years historical perspective, it kind of looks like it could go further even.
Can you blow up your chart so people can see?
Oh, sorry. Yep. Hang on. Yeah, so 7 trillion, that's only here.
7.5.
That kind of looks pessimistic almost. I can put this on weekly instead. We see a little bit more of the history. And 7 trillion, that's only here. Yeah, seems like it could go further, definitely. And yeah, like you said, it's already, what do you say? It's already 4%, the dominance?
The dominance 3.53% last time I checked. Let me check right now. Because it's changing. As Bitcoin falls, of course, it goes up. Give me 1 second. Sol dominance as we speak is exactly 3.65, 3.65%. So again, you're saying 7.5 trillion is a no-brainer for the crypto market cap next year, and Solana dominance is already nearly at 4%. That takes us to $600 mathematically, which is just crazy. So anyway.
Spectacular. Should we talk about Bitcoin? We have to get to some other topics also. So it is mind-blowing. It is absolutely mind-blowing, the whole thing. So what is happening with Bitcoin here? Have we stalled out? Is the bull run over? Should we cry because we've had a few days of retracement? Ivan, you shared a lot of fun reactions that you get on your
guys. We are whippersnappers. Do you know this word? One of my favorite bearfluencers called us whippersnappers, the bullish whippersnappers. No, but Sitio, if you go back to the 2020 November on the weekly, you see that for 4 weeks we were battling with previous all-time high on the weekly in like November, December 2020. They're at 20K-ish. Yeah, exactly there. So you see it's like a few, maybe 4 candles there, trying to break 20K. And we're exactly there. It's a matter of time when we see a nice breakout candle maybe to 75, maybe to 80K to truly leave this all-time high behind. Because I thought it would be last week, but last week we did dump, like we pumped quite nicely. It looked like that, but the week closed not that high. It actually went down below 70. So yeah, for the time being, this week, maybe next week, we're still battling the bear with this all-time high price. But it's a question of time before we break through and have a fat candle to 80K. So that would be my prediction for the coming weeks. Look for that fat candle that tells the market, listen, the 70K stuff, no more. We have left it.
Yeah, there was also a lot of people are confused as to why it fell. First of all, dips are normal in Bitcoin, but not with the type of inflows that are coming in from the new ETFs. And apparently, I didn't dig into it because some hedge fund got caught out between buying spot and selling puts, or buying puts and selling spot. I didn't dig into it at all, but that caused a liquidation of nearly 1 million Bitcoin. They completely missed out, and that caused a massive dump onto the market, kind of similar to the games that were played by 3 Hours Capital back last bull run. So that's one of the reasons, and the market's recovering from that exact experience. Did you guys dig into that situation?
I didn't see that, actually. I thought it was kind of suspicious, the dumping on weekend when there is no ETF flows. It felt like you're trying to flush out a little bit, cause some liquidations, and then because weekday starts, then maybe new inflows will come. It's hard. I think even for the biggest whales, I think it's hard to dump Bitcoin price when there's like 12th of March, $1 billion shooting in from, new fresh money. You have to put a lot of money then if you want to dump the price. So I felt that suspicious is dumping on weekend. That was
it was a very large liquidation that happened, and it wasn't from retail investors that are leveraged long. It was a hedge fund playing with Bitcoin. So anyway, I'll dig into
How did they manage to get liquidated there? It's like it only shows that it is possible to outperform the professionals. They should watch DCA and not short in an uptrend or whatever they were doing to manage to get liquidated in the easiest market ever. But okay, that's interesting. I also feel very positive because while Bitcoin was higher indeed back here in November 2021, but it was so brief, guys. It kind of went up there, faked everyone a little bit, and then it just dumped down. There was almost no volume there. If you look on the right here, you see the volume profile at the time. There was almost no volume above this thick line, and now we have retraced to that line and bounced. If we zoom in here, you see it kind of clear. We bounced exactly on that support line. So I think this looks very positive. There's no reason to worry at this point from what I can see. So we'll have to see. You never know. I mean, in previous bull runs, we've had usually a little bit bigger corrections than this. This is, I think it was it 13%? Yeah, 12.6% corrections. During previous bull runs, we've typically had corrections around 20%. So could be that we get a little bit more, and there's been occasional 30%, and I think there was once we had 40% or something like that. Perhaps it will be a little milder now if there's constant inflows and so on. But yeah, if there is a bigger corrections, I think it's just an opportunity. It's just something to take advantage of. And especially if other people start panicking, then I get very excited. We've covered Bitcoin. Anything else to say about Bitcoin price? James, anything you want to add?
Just the ETF flows are ridiculous. I mean, this has become, this year to date, the most volume is on the new ETFs, and they missed the first 11 or 12 days of the year. The inflows are like nothing the world has ever seen, and we're on target to do $50 billion to $100 billion this year if it continues anywhere near this rate. And the combination of that massive amount of money flow coming into Bitcoin, and then they're already buying 8 to 10 times the daily supply that's actually been mined, which isn't even hitting the market, because we can only track about 25% of miners around the world. 75% are kind of sovereigns using flare gas in the Middle East, whatever, to mine Bitcoin, and they're keeping that Bitcoin. They're not putting it into OTC desks. That's what people don't realize. And that 900 is going to 450, and we are going to see an incredible 2024. Mark my words. So,
I have something to show. Oh, sorry, this pop up. Let me get away. Look here. The politicians are asking Gary Gensler to please not allow more ETFs. Then you know it's working. This was a few days back. Basically, a bunch of senators coming out saying, Gary Gensler, please, no more crypto ETFs. And, something is really, we're onto something. It's afraid. It's like that meme, oh, it's afraid. So that I think that's what we're seeing right now. And the demand is crazy. And politicians are noticing that.
Actually, I tweeted something last night, just again, highlighting the fact that Solana is blocked in all the major exchanges, like places like Robinhood, etc. You're not allowed to buy Solana because of Gary Gensler.
And
look
they
at the
sold
price
at the
action.
bottom.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine what the price would be doing if your average?
I didn't know that. Is it like even like the certificates and so on, or?
Yeah, check my tweet from last night. It's just banned, and not just Solana, but other assets too, like Matic and Cardano and Avalanche. All these things were kind of blacklisted by the SEC because they labeled them as securities, and all the brokerage firms that do both equities and crypto to behave, they delisted them all.
Imagine if we get ETFs for this as well later. If we get ETFs for, maybe Ethereum is the easiest one, but if they approve that, they're going to have to approve Solana and Cardano. Probably they're going to approve them and so on. Imagine
and markets, and once they get this clown out of the office, this Gary Gensler, and they hopefully get Elizabeth Warren out of the office, these corrupt individuals, literally, financial markets, TradFi, goes where the money is. Even if they can just raise 500 million for an ETF, they will list an ETF. So it's once they get these clowns out of the office, there will be ETFs galore. You could even get a bloody Pepe ETF. Who knows down the line? It's going to be crazy.
I think Gary Gensler should ride on the success now. He's the first person to approve the most successful ETF in US market history. He approved, he voted yes. So great work, Gary.
He voted yes. He voted yes because Larry Fink pushed him into voting yes. It's you understand. It's the question is, do I listen to Elizabeth Warren or do I never work again if I betray Larry Fink? It's that simple. That's the calculus here.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's huge power, huge money. And now it's funny. We talked about it, guys. Was it half a year ago or something when the banks were so against and Jamie Dimon and so on? Now look at all the banks. They're so positive now to the ETFs and because they have a part in the money flow. And that's fantastic to see. Let's talk about two more Bitcoin topics first, perhaps, before gold. You mentioned something, James, that you saw some Bitcoin OGs selling maybe 3 to 6 months back, and you said you were kind of wonder what that was, and then turns out they are moving into ETFs. Do you want to repeat what you said there? I thought it was so interesting.
Yeah, so I look at a lot of on-chain data, and I noticed a lot of long-term holders, including 5-year wallets, all of a sudden moving to exchanges. I'm like, whoa! And it happened literally 1 week after the ETFs launched, and a whole bunch of them, substantial amounts of money. I was like, who would sell Bitcoin before the halving? It doesn't make sense. And I lay awake at night for days thinking, who's doing this? And I kept on seeing more points of reference saying all these long-term holders are selling. But I think what's happening, imagine you have a bag of Bitcoin that's going back 5 years, 10 years. You have a lot of money and you're worried about self-custody. Maybe you're getting, I don't know, older, whatever. You want to leave things to your loved ones, move it to trusts, etc. That's what they're doing. They're moving their Bitcoin from old wallets into things like vehicles like Fidelity and BlackRock, so they can allocate them to trusts and leave them as a kind of legacy donation or inheritance to children or whatever else. That's my theory. Nobody else has spoken about that, but I'm pretty convinced that's what's happening.
I think also it could be a simple security consideration, right? There's like when it started like maybe as a fun thing, you're playing around. If you're like really OG, you were very early and you traded a little bit, it became a lot of money. But then that now became an insane amount of money, perhaps. And then you'd maybe start worrying both about the technical security, like what if something malfunctions and, or
like you've
physical
got
security. You could get like...
and these wallets
on it.
And these wallets are big. If you got 40 Bitcoin, it's $3 million.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
While
if you-
ETF is really, I feel it's a very good solution. I never liked really the certificates. It always felt like you don't know where the Bitcoin is, if they even exist somewhere, or it felt like they could lose them anytime. But ETF is a very good solution. So I think so too. It's an interesting insight, I think. Then something else. So how many Bitcoin holders are there? And James said this is something you have mentioned a number, and I looked at it again, and I kind of didn't completely get it. So I thought we can, because it's an interesting question. If you have a Bitcoin, how many people realistically have one Bitcoin in the world? And it's not a trivial question, because one wallet doesn't correspond to one person. Like one person can have multiple wallets, and one wallet can also belong to multiple persons if it is an exchange wallet. So it's not an easy question to answer. And James, you made some calculations and simulations on that.
Exactly. And I've been looking at this for a long time, because one of the things that got me excited about Bitcoin in 2017 was its scarcity. And then I started thinking, okay, there's 60 million millionaires on the planet, but there's only 21 million Bitcoin. What happens if all the millionaires decide to buy one Bitcoin? And this is back when Bitcoin's like $3,000 or whatever. I was like, this thing's going to go up, because if it does catch on, the rich people will want to get it. So if you look at the average estimated number of addresses per user on the blockchain, it's actually 31.5, which is really, really high. And then you break all this down and you take into account things like lost coins, you take into account things like heavy concentrations across heavy holders like institutions, like MicroStrategy. Now you've got the ETFs. The end conclusion is, and this was my initial estimate when I first did this calculation, and it was one of my first videos in 2021, was about 400,000 whole coiners. They are the number of unique individuals, unique humans on the planet that can own one Bitcoin. And then in a recent edition back in middle of last year, together with data from Blockware, and they did the detailed wallet analysis, and we took it together, and you get that slide right there. That's the amount of whole coiners right now, is 235,200 as of the middle of last year. But now it's become really difficult to calculate this, because you got money moving into the ETFs, goes into one wallet. BlackRock have one address. I don't know. Exactly. Is there 10 people behind that, or are there 20 million people behind that? And what is the allocation? We no longer have access to this data, but I can tell you one thing.
What number did you get to? Because here is like 1 to 10 BTC is 855,000 addresses, but each person, each big holder probably has multiple addresses for security and stuff like that.
Exactly. Like MicroStrategy apparently has 60 addresses.
Yeah.
But if you look at the slide I'm showing there, that's the amount.
Sorry, I didn't. Yeah.
That's the amount. This is the maximum mathematic amount of whole coiners on Earth in July 2023. But since then, Michael Saylor's bought over 100,000 Bitcoin. So if every time he buys, he denies whole coiners, unless, of course, you want to assume that buying MicroStrategy shares makes you a whole coiner too, which is technically possible, but it's difficult. But now I think with further adoption, with more addresses, more people coming onto the network, this is going down.
I think it's going down also. My feeling from the past year, it's that it's been large holders, professionals who have been dedicated to this space, who played this cycle right. People who were tourists and so on, they were not here even paying attention when the trend turned. So they missed most of this run, I think, and coming back only now. And while, of course, there's some new big players, I don't know, pension funds and so on, stepping into the game now, but who is selling here? I'm also feeling that it's become even more concentrated. What do you think, Ivan? more concentrated or more
Well,
democratic?
I mean, the market transfers from impatient people, from people who don't have conviction, who trade back and forth, to people who are patient and who have conviction. And just by design, it's fewer of those who are really here in the bear market, who are here the whole cycle. Like many people I know, they were here in 2017. And now they're realizing, wait, it did not die in 20. They thought they were part of that cycle. Then they thought it's dead. They kind of missed the last 2021, and now they hear it with BlackRock and stuff like that. And so they probably could have gotten one Bitcoin in 2017. It was possible. You could get it for, or 2018, you could get it for like 3K. So absolutely, just the nature of the market, and that's why all economies, they always gonna gravitate towards fewer people owning more and more and more. Because, and the thing is, it's not hard to learn how to play the game. Like it's simple. You write the trends, you have long-term conviction, you analyze and you remove emotion from your strategy. But of course, it's only maybe 1% of people that actually does that in the world. On all trading platforms, it is even by law that all trading platforms have to say that like 90% of people lose 90% of their capital in 90 days that they deposit. So it's just math. It's human nature. If you use your gut feeling, it's gonna wreck you. So it seems correct what is shown here in the chart.
I think so too. So I
This
think it's a really actionable conclusion from this, guys. That is really to take it more seriously, because to catch this uptrend that we've had the past 1 year, it was not that difficult, like analytically. And even if you didn't do the analysis, you could go and listen to any of our 3 channels or the DCA, and we said it straight. It wasn't that difficult. But then emotionally, to take action on that and really believe on it, and put real money, really feel that this is correct and come to the same conclusion and put in your own money and so on. That's a difficult thing to do emotionally when the whole world says that it's a garbage, it's a tulip bubble, it's a scam, it will never work, it's not backed by anything, and the banks are saying it's criminals and everything like that. And here we are.
And this one here is another interesting illustration, because people always ask, okay, if I have X Bitcoin, where do I rank in terms of Bitcoin holders? And I've also done this in terms of population on the planet. Those numbers get really crazy. But literally, back in November 2022, for $300,000, you could have been in the top 0.1% of Bitcoin holders. I know $300,000 sounds like a lot of money, but that shows you how early we are. The world is coming into this asset class, but there's so few people have it. To be in the top 1%, you need 3.5 Bitcoin. To be in the top 5%, you only need 0.13 Bitcoin, which is incredible to think.
Yeah.
So that's interesting for people to build goals to fly towards.
Exactly. We have to cover at least 3 more things. One, super quick, because it's a huge world event for people outside the crypto bubble, and that is that gold has broken out. Physical gold. After 4 years of trying and 15 years of waiting for Peter Schiff back since August 2011 when it rejected, and then 4 years of trying here, it has actually broken out now. So gold is actually in price discovery. And what do you think? Will that drive more interest towards the commodity sector? And then they will think, okay, how much physical, how much digital gold, or will it compete with Bitcoin now that this looks like a good trade, if nothing else?
The only reason gold's going up is the Chinese central bank is buying it. What happens when the central banks start to buy Bitcoin? That's what you need to think about. Gold is crap. You divide gold by M2 money supply growth over the last 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, 40 years, 50 years. It loses money. It's designed for what happens if there's a nuclear war and we go back to living in caves. That's when you need a little bit of gold. But if you plan for that scenario, we're all dead anyway, is my attitude. But I don't care about gold. It's a waste of money. This is just central banks buying it. If you look at the drainage from the ETF, the gold ETF, it's disappearing. I think the funds lost a huge amount, 5 or 10% so far year to date. And that money's going into the Bitcoin ETF. Because even gold bugs who've been in gold for 40 years, they're now saying, well, I don't know if this Bitcoin thing is real, but I'm going to sell half my gold and put it into Bitcoin just in case, because gold has done nothing for me for the last 50 years. That's what's happening right now.
Ivan, what's your thoughts on gold? Are you thinking about buying gold or digital gold?
Well, I mean, it's a pet rock, and Bitcoin, you can also say it's a pet rock, but it's faster pet rock. I don't know. It wasn't Larry Fink or who said it last cycle. It was one of these billionaires who entered in 2020. He said that Bitcoin is the fastest horse. It's the same as gold, but it's better in many ways. International, you don't have to carry it. Like Michael Setter said, try carrying it 100K of gold in the airport. You're not gonna be able to. They're gonna say that you're a criminal. They're gonna take your gold. So Bitcoin, it is pet rock, but it's so much better in many regards. And it's the fastest horse, as simple as that. And the question is also how this, if Bitcoin can be the black hole, kind of like you've been saying, James, Solana is black hole. If Bitcoin can be the black hole that sucks in gold, real estate, and all other stuff that people store their money in. And some people will obviously say, oh, it's used for jewelry. It is used for jewelry, but if you look at the price of gold, it's the physical aspects of the price is very minor. Like the majority of gold price is due to store of value and so on. So that's why there's a lot of room for Bitcoin to capture from gold. But I think also there was statistics from the banks coming in the last week where they said that it's not that people are dumping gold, but they're buying Bitcoin. So it seems that the new capital goes into Bitcoin, but not necessarily that they are dumping that much gold. So yeah, quite interesting dynamics there.
Gold is old. We are checking some comments. Use it to bribe border guards. Can't use BTC for that exactly because it's transparent. Cannot use for criminal things. Gold is better than cash, though. True. Here we have Thomas. This boomer is into BTC, ETH, and Sol. 75 years old. Exactly. Young
Well
and strong and
Awesome.
on the money.
That's
love
so
it.
impressive.
Love it,
So
love
impressive.
it, love it. So let's talk about two big things. One is altcoin narratives. One being the meme coins on Solana, which no one can possibly have missed. And others could be AI, infrastructure, ownership, and so on. What's your thinking, Ivan, as maybe the person in the world that has the most insight into different chains with all the work you're doing at Morales and all that stuff? What do you see as the trends here?
Yeah, I mean, just keep it simple. It's meme coins, it's gaming, it's AI, and deepin. Like those things, that's it. And you don't, as long as they're quality projects, good tokenomics, and in those categories, they will do well. Especially new coins.com, they've been doing extremely well in this ecosystems. And then the market just rotates around. And sometimes it's on Solana, meme coins on Solana, meme coins on ETH, meme coins somewhere else, or gaming here, gaming there. But yeah, it's also super easy if you just don't complicate it. People overcomplicate too much. But if you keep it simple, these are the categories. And they don't even make sense sometimes. For example, ChatGPT does a new update, AI coins pump. Why? There is no connection. But don't overanalyze. They do pump. When ChatGPT does a new update, AI coins pump. Simple.
And DPIN, that's decentralized physical infrastructure network. And I mean, it's like Filecoin was maybe one of the first, but now there's more computing capacity for AI and so on. Okay. I have a big question. I thought about it yesterday and I forgot about it today. Then Ivan independently asked the same question here just before we started the show. And it's a question that we both have, I think, to James. And let's bring it up.
So now
here.
James is Tesla support.
Exactly. Now James should be doing that now. No, we're not interested in Solana anymore. Now we need to be a Tesla support team manager. So is it a buy the dip opportunity, or what? Has Tesla crashed, or what's happening?
Well, back to your previous question. The two things that I think are biggest are TradFi disruption, which is crypto, and AI. They are the two narratives that if you are an investor, you got to be on both of these trains at the same time. The pace of development of things happening in AI is unreal. There's a thing called FSD 12.3 that came out over the weekend. Michael Dell, you probably know Michael Dell from Dell Computer. He drove it. And he said, this is absolutely mind-blowing. He could not believe that a car was driving him around Texas, wherever he lives in Texas. He could not believe how good it was, how human-like it was, how it could see a dog 3 blocks up the street and take action because of what it saw, how it could sneak in and around garbage cans on the side of the street. It was just complete. So we're at that ChatGPT moment. I don't know if it's going to happen 3 months from now or 9 months from now, but that's the first thing. Second, Tesla's gone up $11 today because you guys are thinking about it. Third, I bought a big bag of Tesla 4 days ago. It was like 162 or 163 bucks. And fifth, you see all the bottom signals. This is the psychology of investing. This is brilliant. So I call it running into a burning building. So when you see so-called people that call themselves professionals, when they capitulate and sell, that's your signal to buy. So you got the Gary Blacks and the Meet Kevins, who is a real estate guy who sells courses, thinks he's a fund manager now. When they sell, that is just the most beautiful bottom signal. That means everybody run into that burning building, go. So I just thought that was very funny. Tesla is 11 businesses under one with 550 billion in market cap, and it's going to be bigger than, as Elon says, bigger than anything.
What about the rule of law concern? Because that's one thing where with Bitcoin, I know that Biden or Joe Biden, like he will not mess with Bitcoin. But with Tesla, like the way they are messing with fake news, and like recently there was this like bloodbath news you probably have followed. But also they don't like Elon. And with Trump, we've also seen a lot of lawsuits. Like some of them, I mean, to my knowledge, don't make a lot of sense from a rule of law perspective. But what about like this rule of law concern? Will they try to take it away from him? Is that something to be worried about? I don't like that it's dependent on politicians and like judges and activist judge can decide something.
It's dead right. If Elon didn't buy Twitter, Tesla would probably be at $400 right now. That's just a fact of life. But that's also a gift for us as retail investors to be able to buy it cheap. And you're dead right. He controls the narrative. Literally, anybody, even the media, okay, Wall Street Journal journalists go to Twitter to find news to write about the next day. It is the center of the place. Where do you guys go for news today? Both of you?
Twitter.
There you go. It's because it's real-time news from experts, unbiased, and the algos work better than anything else. There's no other place to go. I'm going to cancel all, and I spend thousands of dollars every year on subscriptions, canceling them all, except for a couple of Substacks, and I think I can't remember, there's one journal I will keep, but the rest are gone. It's all Twitter. But I think you're dead right. But the problem is, if you are a government leader, say of the United States, and you're looking at competitive threats, so your job first and foremost is to make your country strong. You need somebody who will help you with space, who will help you with AI, who will help you beat the Chinese with BEVs, who will help you with, you name it, conversion to energy storage, all of these things. You have to embrace Elon Musk. Okay. Donald Trump probably doesn't like Elon Musk, but he met with him last week. Why is that? And
well, he
Joe
said that
Biden
he's smart in that recording. Elon Musk smart, Joe Biden dumb.
Well, I don't think Joe Biden is dumb, but I think he's past it. I don't think he's in control. I think other people are making decisions for him and writing his tweets. There's people behind the curtains.
It was a video where Trump got asked, "What do you think about Elon Musk?" He said, "Smart." Then the interviewer asked, "What do you think about Joe Biden?" He's dumb.
Oh, I missed that. Yeah, but that's the world we live in. It's eventually, as I say, the cream will float to the top. People realize how important this company is. It's a special time to be able to, last week buy it at $162. It's for me.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like buying it at $106 a year ago.
It seems really low here comparing with the other companies, that's around it. I don't know.
And they're making their own silicon.
The real tech companies are up here. Yeah. They're at like 1 trillion, 1.5 trillion, or 2 trillion, 3 trillion. And Tesla is down here with Broadcom and JP Morgan and Walmart. And it's kind of unexpected and I don't quite understand it.
Yeah. And they have the 5th most powerful supercomputer in the world that's optimized, called Dojo, for training, AI training, real world AI, which is self-driving cars and robots. People don't do the calculus of what's happening in 2025. It's going to melt faces. Again, mark my words, second time I said that in this video. The beauty of the world is, I think, and this is going to be very controversial, I think the world has gotten dumber since 2020. People no longer can forecast what's happening 12 weeks from now. And that's a critical skill of what people are missing. And I don't know why. Now, a lot of people do know what's happening, but compared to the other 98%, they've got no clue. And they listen to mainstream media and they're sheep, and they'll end up getting hurt as a result. This is a transformational time. It'll happen once in mankind's existence, once. And we're in the middle of it right now, everybody. Again,
Yep.
Take note. You call it digitalis eros or something?
Yeah, exactly. I call it era digitalis. And I feel it's first too, I feel it's happening once, and it's happening right now. And most people don't see it. They just see the isolated events. They don't see the bigger society change that's happening right in front of us. And we're right in the middle of it. And I think maybe even we cannot picture how big the change is going to be. I think it's going to surprise us all. And I think everyone watching, if you're at the wrong place in the ecosystem, in the wrong industry, you have a job that you realize probably will get replaced by AI. I mean, take action now. Don't wait until it happens, because now there is still opportunity. Most people don't get it. So it's still possible to move into some industry or some sector or some activity where you can make, you have a long-term future. But if you wait until everyone realizes it, then it's going to be a lot of people in that door. It's going to be hard to get through the door that everyone's trying to get through at the same time. So take action now, because this change is going to come. I am 100% sure.
Yeah, there's somebody here in the comments, a guy called Nick, talked about a movie called Idiocracy. If you don't believe what I'm saying, watch that movie. I think it's from the 80s or 90s, and it's a forecast of the Earth in 2040, of how a guy was frozen for 20 or 30 years and he comes back defrosted and he's the most intelligent human being on Earth. It's brilliant. But literally now in California, they're trying to eliminate things like algebra and trigonometry from the syllabus because it's too hard for the children. I mean, once that happens and you got the kids in Korea and other places working their tails off, this is what I'm talking about. The world is not supporting what's required to survive in the future, and it's very serious. So sorry for getting a little amped up here, but as you say, CTO, this is the time to pay attention. Do not sit back. This will happen once in the history of the world, and it's happening right now.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, algebra is racist, like Margie says.
Yeah, exactly.
But I can't help but think that there must be some, conspiracy, that because it happens across the world. How can the entire world? It's the same in Sweden. The same, we don't need grades. We just, we give participation badges, and why? Because normal people don't agree with that. It's mainly the narratives that are coming from upstairs, and where do they come from? And it's across the world. That's what's crazy. And this fake news is also across the world. I cannot help but think it's gotta be some conspiracy. Why otherwise would it be so crazy in so many different countries?
Yeah, and there's an old quote as well that you guys probably know is, hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. We are at that weak men creating hard times stage right now. The world has become too weak, too soft, too accommodating.
Yeah, I think self-leadership is the key here, guys. Don't fall into the mainstream narrative, because it's on the wrong track. I can see it so clearly, being part of so many technology changes and so on. They don't get it. They underestimate again how big this technology shift will be. I'm telling you guys, don't follow the herd here. You have to think yourself, lead yourself, and steer your own ship.
Exactly.
And a few more words about halving. It's about 1 month away, almost exactly. What are your thoughts? So we start with you, James. in market, now short term?
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. We get to 75K by the halving, possible 100K, because literally the crunch is going to happen. We've got 30 days to go. I don't know where this Bitcoin is coming from, because the ETFs are sucking in 8 to 10 times the daily issuance. And the miners are trying to hodl as much as they can. And the other 80% of miners around the world, they're not selling. Where is this coming from? That's what I want to know. I think they're getting some of the ETF bags from liquidating leverage longs on different types of exchanges. But it's fascinating. There'll come a day, and I know firsthand from 3 separate sources that OTC desks were calling miners directly, small miners that they never ever called before, and they're saying, "Hey, you got any of that Bitcoin?" You know the meme with Dave Chappelle or something, scratching his neck. You got any of that cheap whatever? Literally, the OTC desks are empty or very close to empty. The grayscale dumpage is close to being done. The bad actors are flushed from the system. This thing can move fast. As we've seen, we went from 40,000 to 73,000 in 8 weeks. Okay, that's a huge move. It's taking a breather right now. And then we had that fund that was liquidated last week, and that took a big ding. But somewhere between 75 and 100K in the next 30 days. My money's on that. What do you think,
Ivan,
Ivan?
what's your thoughts on halving?
Well, I'm waiting for that candle to take us to 80K to really say, listen, all-time high is behind us. It's a big fat candle way above 70K. So no one even asks again, is it still a danger that we get rejected by the previous all-time high? And then it's price discovery. I think within the next 10 days, it's a very good probability that we get that candle. And then it's price discovery. It's flying at 80K. And that's when the teleporting is starting. You go back to previous cycle. When we broke 20K, we were at 60K in a matter of months. Like it was 2 months or something. And when I say teleporting, it's that, it goes 2x. You cannot even blink. It's always 2x. So something like that around the halving would be amazing. And then, then guys, we're in uncharted territory. I don't know if it means that the cycle is going to be shorter, or that, we just go into infinity. Like you James, they speak about, because I don't think you believe in this left translated cycle, which means that it's a bit shorter. But we can discuss it in the future weeks, because for now, we're waiting for that breakout above all-time high with confidence.
Exactly. The DCA pump begins. Someone wrote here. Has it begun? I haven't.
It did in the past few minutes. Yes.
Great! Finally, it's a time zone difference, so they maybe haven't.
True.
I love patterns and numbers. Bitcoin bounced during the show of $66,600. So I know in some religions it's a bad luck number, but in China that's a very good luck number, as you know as well, CTO Larson, from your travels.
Exactly.
We've gone up $800 in the last few minutes.
They just got the time zone wrong. That's why.
Yeah,
so,
this thing moves fast. This thing moves fast.
Any final thoughts or any more final questions?
Shout out to Jeff Hammer and Red Panda Pie and all the crew here. It's good to see everybody.
We have 5,000 live viewers. It's the highest we've had on my channel. So thanks everyone, and make sure you're subscribed to James and Ivan. You can do that while we're taking a few more comments. Jupiter, definitely it has done very well, of course, with the Solana trading. What's the next all-time high for BTC? I don't know. I think that we might be surprised again. That's at least the feeling I've had. I don't set targets. I don't start the cycle by logging in and setting like a sell order at a certain price. I try to ride it as long as the uptrend is intact and the chart is bullish. And who knows how high it goes? Hopefully a lot higher than we can imagine. And if it doesn't, okay, then it's a different situation. Then we have to take action in anticipation. James, what price do you see Tesla in 2025?
Yeah, there's going to be definitely by 2025. There's so many tailwinds coming. There's the energy storage scaling, which is 25% margin business, which is they are the leader in the world. FSD will be full full on working in the world, different places where it's legalized. The robot Optimus will be out and launched in 2025 as well. And I can talk about 8 other lines of business, but I don't even want to bore you guys. The price of Tesla will be somewhere north of $600. I believe it's very possible, but at least 400. So go from 160 to 400. It's a big move, but the all-time high is at 400 as well. So, and that was years ago, before they even had all this stuff. And then they got Model 2 coming. The rest of the car world, and people think it's a car company, but no, it's a robot on wheels company. But the rest of the EV makers around the planet are retrenching, okay? Because there's only one company that's actually growing and expanding gigafactories. New giga in Beijing or Shanghai for batteries, New Mexico giga for cars. Lots of tailwinds. Just be patient. Build your bag now. But what happens once it breaks an all-time high and all this stuff hits at once, you're going to see a stock move like what NVIDIA did in the last year and a half, maybe more. That's what's coming.
And you don't think they will be challenged by the Chinese EV makers, copying everything?
So the Chinese, they copy everything, but what they lack is manufacturing prowess, expertise. So as Elon Musk says, what's special about Tesla is not the cars. It's the machine that makes the machine, which is the factory. Nobody has that level of manufacturing expertise. That's why I know you could have 100 companies making bots. There's only one that'll be able to make them at scale profitably with the most powerful brain, because they're Dojo computer. If you look at all the S-curves colliding in the world today and all the stuff that they're doing, there's complete synergy across all these different platforms. Again, that's what Wall Street analysts can't with their little pencil and boxes put together, because they can't think exponentially. And that's a key skill for the future.
Yeah, the reason I'm interested, because I'm not sure. I feel like, okay, the Giga Press and everything, perhaps it can be copied also given enough time. But I think software is, and data is harder to copy. I'm thinking about the AI part. Like, I feel that if they can really become like a key, maybe the biggest player in AI, that's unlimited. So I feel that even if it's like a 20% chance that they succeed with that, the upside is enormous if they succeed. It seems like he's getting more and more angry at OpenAI. It was his name, right? Elon Musk came up with OpenAI, and now it's closed AI, and he's angry. And if he can fuel that anger to build a better AI system or something, it feels like that could really be the biggest opportunity. But James, do you think that would happen in Tesla company, or would it happen in another company, in another of Elon's companies?
No. AI will belong in Tesla because it's integral to the cars and the robots, the robot will be the biggest business that they have in the future, because that has everything. But also, you mentioned things like the Giga Press. People think, oh, anybody can stamp a car. No, it's way more difficult than that, because you have to have the alloy at the perfect mix of different metals. They built a custom alloy, for example, for the Cybertruck. It's 1 millimeter thick and it's bulletproof. That's because it's a special metal. This is the stuff that they have from SpaceX, and how they can build a new Roadster, which would be the fastest car in the world, launching next year. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in under 1 second. It is a rocket ship. What will Lamborghini and Ferrari and all these Porsche, what will they do when they have this car as a competitor? It's game over. Again, they're just playing now with different products just to mess with the world. So it's an exciting time, no doubt.
Very exciting times. Ivan, any final words about the market, altcoins?
That's it, guys. Super bullish. Don't worry about the dump. Don't be scared. Trend with your friend, and see you all next Monday on James' channel.
Yeah, I always forget. Thank you, Ivan.
Thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks a lot, guys. Super day in the markets. Super week. Love it.
Yeah.
See you soon.
I love you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.